Thanks for staying with us on The Real Story. Taliban rule in Afghanistan is a return to dark times in the country, especially for women's rights. Before the group was run out after the U.S. invasion years ago, women and girls were denied education, denied being able to work. And while the Taliban is claiming women will be able to do both, how much do we really believe that that's going to be the case? On another note, the U.S. was able to fly thousands of our Afghan allies out. They have left their home and everything they've known, having risked their lives, some of them, for us, the U.S. And now they're going to be resettled around the U.S., including right here in Connecticut. So we have two guests this morning who can speak on women's rights as well as the resettlement process here in our state. Joining me this morning is Assistant Professor of Political Science, Genevieve Quinn, and the Executive Director of Integrated Refugee and Immigrant Services, known as IRIS, Chris George. Thank you both so much for coming on The Real Story today.
Thank you for having us.
So Genevieve, I want to start with you and just talk about, really, this is a humanitarian crisis in the country. The U.S. is now out. What does this mean for women? I mean, I've been watching some brave souls in the streets protesting. I think there was a group of about 50 women protesting and saying that they want their daughters to be able to go to school, standing up against the Taliban. You know, what are you concerned with and thinking about when you see images like that?
Right, and it's really, given the Taliban's history of repression and gender-based violence, it's really a very dire time in Afghanistan for women. And a lot of women civil society activists have been rightly pointing out recently that for the last 20 years, the United States has really been encouraging women to speak their voice, to get educations, to enter politics in the political sphere. So it's really, now these people are in direct danger. So it's really important for the US government it's our responsibility to ensure that these women are taken care of and are protected, and the situation, is very dire.
Should the Taliban be trusted this time around? I mean, what are we hearing about what's going on in the country at this point? It's a little bit difficult because, you know, a lot of journalists have left. We know even journalists, Afghan women who are journalists there. I know one TV newscaster had left the country because she was concerned about the Taliban. So, you know, it's hard to get some sources of information about exactly what's going on there, aside from what people are saying, right?
Right, and the Taliban has said, their spokesperson has said that they will respect women's rights, they will not discriminate, but using the phrase within our frameworks, our institutional frameworks, and that's the key phrase there is, you know, they don't respect international standards of human rights and gender equality. So it's sort of a political move on their part. They understand that there's incredible international pressure at the moment against them. And so this is the time they're going to be telling the international community what it wants to hear.
Lip service.
And they're, exactly.
Yeah. All right, Chris, I want to get to you right now. We were talking about the resettlement process here. How many Afghans do you think are going to be in Connecticut? Do you even know at this point?
There's a possibility that we could be welcoming almost 1,000 Afghans over the next, year and a half, which would be a lot. Connecticut rarely goes over 1,000 in refugee arrivals. We did it in 2016 when Syrian refugees came, when Connecticut communities and individuals really stepped forward and showed their compassion and their generosity. There's even more of that now. I mean, I have just never seen so much caring and welcoming and generosity. Our phones are ringing off the hook. My email inbox is just flooded with people who want to help. So it's a wonderful thing to see. And we're going to need all the help we can get because we're not used to resettling such large numbers of refugees. There's a housing shortage in Connecticut. So even something as basic as finding apartments for these families is going to be a real challenge. But we'll do it. We'll get through it, but only with the help of community groups, with individuals, and the generosity of the great people of Connecticut.
Chris, the vetting process came up when we were just talking with our previous guests. What kind of vetting process are they going through? And, should people be concerned? Or should they be really welcoming these Afghans with open arms?
Right. Well, the U.S. government has the most rigorous vetting process in the world by far. The Department of Homeland Security runs it, and refugees go through the most rigorous screening. FBI is involved, CIA is involved, data is run through international criminal watch lists, terrorist watch lists. There are interviews, which often feel more like interrogations. And the history shows that it has been a successful vetting process. I mean, since 2001, more than 800,000 refugees have passed through the vetting process to come to the United States, and not a single one has been involved in a terrorist act that killed an American. So it works. Now, we're bringing a lot of people over a short period of time, but the Department of Homeland Security is not going to cut corners on the vetting process. That's one thing that we will not do. And if people need to be turned around because, a phone number on their cell phone matched phone number of a terrorist cell, they're going to be turned around and sent back. We don't take chances.
All right, Chris George, as well as Genevieve Quinn, assistant professor at Quinnipiac. Thank you both so much for coming on and talking with us about this important issue today.
Thank you.
All right, that does it for us on The Real Story. If you want to watch these segments again, head to fox61.com or download the Fox 61 app and watch The Real Story every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on Fox 61. Have a great morning.